Haven is a solved map. All across VCT, across all regions, it's always the same two comps battling it out. Vipers and Breaches, Jets and Neons. Coming back into the map pool this VCT season, Haven was looking to see a repeat of its metas from previous patches. At least until one team debuted a new composition with astonishing success. On Haven's return to the map pool, Fnatic came out with a brand new look, and they couldn't have looked better. In their 7 Haven games last season, they lost absolutely none, and sported some otherworldly stats in the process. Please just ignore Red Bull. By the end of VCT 24, you were a fool not to ban Haven against Fnatic. So what is this oh so powerful Haven comp? Let's see. This composition is clearly a far cry from what we're used to seeing on this map. It's aggressive, it's dynamic, and it's all about setting up big teamfights with solid contact play and rotations. In keeping with Haven's meta, the Omen and Sova here sustain the comp's mid-rounding potential with recycling utility and info management. They can contribute to execs, assist in early claims, and control the flow of information throughout a round. Sova's Shocks and Omen's Blind can also clear the way for duelists by breaking Sentinel util and incapacitating targets when ramping up speed. Cypher adds to the defensive core. Using kill trips, he can safely play for regroups on defense while still threatening attackers, and his info management means he enables the rest of his team to contact around the map in the knowledge they have time to regroup. On attack, Cypher is also instrumental in early round map control. His cam can control information in mid or A lobby, and his cages are excellent at threatening contact at A. Finally, onto the elephant in the room, the duelists. While Yoru and Iso don't have the execing capacity of a Breach or the dash of a Jet, they have incredible power brawling, disrupting execs, and ramping up speed in the blink of an eye. Because of the lack of recycling util like a Breach stun, these duelists are all about their contact and skirmishing in the mid-round, and holding their util for an opportunity for a big team fight. Let's take a dive into the end of Fnatic's 2024 run, and see how this comp evolved with them through the season. We're going to look at their last 3 Haven matches from VCT 24, and with each one, peel back another layer of the comp's strategic depth. Whether you're part of a team looking to run this comp, here to learn from the theory behind it, or just a Fnatic fan here to appreciate their strategy, there's plenty to take away from this video. Oh, but before we move on just yet, one more thing. Earlier in 2024, I had the honor of being shortlisted for a coaching trial for 100 Thieves. Yeah, that 100 Thieves. During the trial, I was tasked with making a Counter-Strat document specifically for Fnatic's Haven, and since it's germane to this video, I thought I might offer it to anyone interested while you're here. If you're interested in seeing more in-depth analysis of Fnatic's style, a link to that will be in the description. Okay, now let's take a look at Fnatic's Haven. Our dive into Fnatic's Haven starts at the end of their regional run. With Champ Seoul on the horizon, the best of the EMEA fought it out to decide who would lift Europe's regional trophy. Welcome to the EMEA Stage 2 final. Fnatic's opponent, Team Vitality. With their upper bracket veto advantage, Fnatic placed Haven at the start of this long best of 5 series as the map that would dictate the pacing for the rest of the match. Since Vitality get to choose the sides, they select the advantageous attack side, leaving Fnatic starting as the defense. The defense side for this comp is all about controlling rotation priority. For a comp like this, with weaker retakes and flat execs than something like Vitality's comp, it's important to play for flood timing, especially around A. Controlling the flow of information and conditioning opponents into giving up important util or giving away their spacing on the map is hugely important for that reason. And because of that, this match is all about Boaster and Chronicle, and they're who we'll be focusing on. First up, the pistol round. From Fnatic, a pretty standard purchase, only Ducker has his clone instead of a flash for floods, and Chronicle has a Sheriff. This buy allows Chronicle to police A long with solid spam, and go for a warband kill if his dart tags. For Vitality though, the buy is much more stacked towards the exec. Both Sender and Kicks have full util. The aim for Vitality is to hold the util advantage through the round and overpower Fnatic with a better exec. They aim to do that with a hard lean towards A in the early round and runners cam in mid to hold centralized reactability. In response, Fnatic are playing a formation stacked towards mid. With both Duelists and Boaster here, they can control any peek's window with ease and contact down to force Vitality's movement around the map through spawn. Even more deviously, they plan on deep smoking a lobby with Chronicle's Dart in an attempt to funnel Vitality towards mid into the waiting Fnatic players. This combo of Boaster's smoke combined with some form of contestation from Chronicle at A is a huge part of how Fnatic are able to tax resources in the early round and force Vitality to show their hand at A, which in turn enables Durka to contact around mid with that timing. Over at C, Hero is sitting Garage to help potential skirmishes in mid and has a kill trip and cam on C to play for the retake with later rotations. Boaster smokes A lobby with Chronicle's Dart, but Vitality don't back down. Cinder smokes long at bricks and TPs the cross to develop the position, and A lobby is Vitality's. Importantly, Vitality didn't spend any initiator util on this claim, so are exec ready once they own long. With all his reinforcement, Durka contacts down mid as Chronicle is forced to surrender long. Vitality play 4 long and have runner policing for contact at short before the hit. Fnatic appear to be on the lower hand here. They have only one player entrenched at A, with a stampede of Vitality players just waiting for a go signal. In mid, Durka finds runner's cam, or runner's cam finds Durka if you're a Vitality fan. Vitality take that as their signal to move, since Fnatic have extended into mid and are aware now that Vitality are hard leaned at A.
The walk up from Team Vitality into the smoke.
To keep Chronicle safe, Boaster uses this front side smoke. This smoke cuts the line through front sight, so allows Chronicle more safety in top short, graffiti, or even inside of it, by allowing him to separate out fights. By cutting off interplay between the long and short exits, it also forces Vitality to go wide around default, rather than facing through the dangerous smoke first. This makes it an excellent and efficient smoke to use to buy Chronicle some extra time as the flood comes in. And the flood comes in fast. Durka's TP gets him to A instantly. He holds out against swings from default with cover from the other 3 players. He finds 2. With their advantage, Fnatic swing wide of default to clean up the site in a very convincing pistol win.
Run to move, and Ice just kicks, tries to get a consolation at the very least.
It's obvious enough that the teamfight mechanics here are incredible, but I want to break down just how intelligently Fnatic use Boaster's smoke to secure a strong, if chaotic, teamfight. We've already talked a little about this smoke's basic function, but what adds to that strength is how Fnatic, especially Chronicle, play around it. As Vitality took long this round, notice how Chronicle oscillated to short, not just to a wider angle for long like default or an off angle like at graffiti. This serves a couple of core purposes. First, it gives Chronicle an eye on Vitality's timing, since they smoked along and will take some time to clear through it safely. Second, it allows Chronicle to threaten a stronger anchor if he knows Vitality haven't cleared short. If the hit is entirely through long, positions inside the smoke or in top short are much more threatening. Finally, it allows him to play harmoniously with his flooding rotators. If Chronicle were to play back default, he would have no control of Vitality's movement through front sight, which would make Durka's swings back sight less stable with no cover. By playing to concede wide sight and reinforce the narrow side, Chronicle enables Durka and the other players to flood on and get all those frags. This positioning and smoke use is exactly what makes a comp like this, with weak execs but amazing disruption, so strong for Fnatic. Speaking of smokes, Boaster's deep smoke in A lobby, combined with some form of resistance from Chronicle, is a very normal default for Fnatic. Like, an every round kind of default. This is a huge part of our theme of information management, so let's look at that as something to inform our further analysis. Now, you may be wondering, how does Boaster get away with deep smoking A lobby almost every round on defense? It's not like Fnatic have a Viper or another controller to fall back on. The reason this works is because of what we call concession. It would demand far too much of an Omen to smoke every site the attack want to look at when using this deep smoke so often, so instead, Boaster only smokes in reaction to the attack's execs. Like in the round we just saw, Boaster chose to smoke as Vitality started hitting A rather than wasting his only smoke at the time on a weak anchor, since Chronicle was alone anyway and had no stopping power with him. In other words, Chronicle conceded the wide part of A to make it easier to hold on to just a portion of it, and that portion was the part they needed to flood Durka on. Having a Yoru with instant rotations is admittedly a huge part of this as well, and it's why Fnatic keep Durka centralized in most of the rounds. This is why Fnatic play C so weak. Hero's Cypher setups on C, combined with a smoke that reinforces backside rather than greedily trying to hold onto the whole site, will buy enough time for rotations to come in if Fnatic are knowledgeable enough about what's happening in A or mid. This is why, despite this unbalanced formation, Vitality only get 2 plants on C all match, and neither of them ended in a round win. We'll keep an eye on the timing and positioning of Boaster's smokes in future rounds. Suffice it for now to say, Boaster is an incredibly intelligent smoke player. This round will see a demonstration of precisely that point. It's Vitality's eco round now, and Fnatic have chosen to push their advantage with 3 rifles and some held over pistols to guarantee a solid bonus next round. Vitality are gunning for some fast leverage at C by commanding the line through front sight to threaten a fast hit, while Runner plays to enable rotations his way with Cypher cages to control lobby. This is an adaptation to Boaster's smokes. Since Vitality know Boaster won't smoke C long, they can elbow Hero off the line and try to puppeteer Fnatic's rotations into C with that pressure. To do this, they're playing a simple 4-0-1 setup. Fnatic are playing a similar setup to their default, but with Durka reinforcing Chronicle at A long for some contact play and Alphaya hanging around A link. Instead of contacting mid like normal, the plan this round is to fight hard for A lobby control and concede into an anchor if Vitality full rush it, since it's only their eco round. Because of this harder lean towards A, Hero has a full kill trap setup. One trap that allows him to play an off angle from plat, and one to catch scaling past default. Garage is completely concessionary so Fnatic can hold the exits, rather than overextending to sit inside and risk isolated fights. The round starts predictably enough. Fnatic smoke and dart A lobby with Alpha's vulnerable, while Vitality develop their line at C long. As Vitality scale up C long, Boaster and Alpha shadow that side. Notice how they constantly hold the exit from Garage in case of timing, and don't actually walk onto the site just yet. They don't want to completely surrender the rest of the map. Meanwhile, Durka scales up A long to full clear lobby for counter leverage. Hero gives a bad peek into Vitality's line and falls, but at the same time, Durka clears lobby by taking down Runner. Vitality have now lost their rotation options, so have to commit onto C with their pick. Once Vitality have spent the bulk of their util for the site, Boaster and Alpha can make their move. Now, Boaster chooses to smoke, smoking mid-site to limit Vitality's ownership to just front site, which gives Alpha all the reinforcement he needs to flood on with double tap and mow them all down.
That's the floodgates open. Yeah, there's a counterplay in place, and Alpha, come on! Already clearing house, but Vitality took down Hero, they got the spike plant, and Kix is still firing!
The cleanup from there is pretty easy, and Fnatic managed to hold all 3 rifles for the bonus. A couple rounds on, Fnatic find themselves on the brink of an economic reset. Boaster's down to a Spectre, but the rest at least have rifles. Vitality, on the other side of things, have a healthy buy from a solid win in the anti-bonus. This round, Fnatic have started with a more standard default. Hero's gotten himself comfortable on C with some kill trips, and A has a little more early round reinforcement in the form of Alphaya. Vitality have opted once more for a hard lean towards A, while Runner lurks and holds down rotation options. This time, Vitality's plan is to take all of A long off the bat and stay wider spaced in mid and around lobby to try and catch out any contact plays. Although production didn't show it, this round started with a standard vulnerable and shock combo at A, which Alpha and Chronicle used to soften up players at lobby and potentially set up a fight. And, of course, Boaster also smoked it. Vitality's response was to smoke A short and completely cut off the common line Alpha likes to fight through, isolating Chronicle and forcing him off. As Chronicle drones A long, Durka gets active in mid again while Boaster leans towards A. Notice how Durka doesn't overextend into Vitality's spawn since their A movement has slowed, but instead refreshes his TP and holds. Vitality's approach this round is to hold their line in A long and turn some players back to catch Durka.
It's getting pressured though. Vitality looking to try and clear out, and a great shot.
It doesn't go very well. Since Hero is safe knowing Vitality started at A, Fnatic decide to re-clear A long.
A little bit more pressure on these guys to give his teammates a little bit of space towards his A site. But going into 3, Alpha just goes forwards.
He keeps going.
Completely outnumbered, Runner and Trex have no option but to retreat and save their creds. Information management played a key role in this round too. In the start of the round, once Chronicle was pushed off, the timing of his drone was deceptively astute. Notice how he clears once Vitality's A long claim has solidified, and as he does, Durka uses that timing to scale up mid. Info management played another core role here though, and it was in the form of the timing on that late A long fight. Timing wise, this reclear came just after Durka retreated from his pick in spawn. During this time, Fnatic have technically surrendered their leverage around the map, but they do know that Vitality will lean to A to start with and that it takes time to rotate C or especially to reclear mid. Timing their reclear at this point allows them to leverage long again so they can flatten out the map if needed. Taking the fight to Vitality at this point would make it very hard for them to stabilize since they've just been put on the back foot already. Their form here was also immaculate. Before Durka's contact, notice the robust triangle Fnatic played in to stifle short scaling or catch a panic exec through long. Once Durka was out, Alpha positioned himself by long and Boaster hung harmoniously wide of default to catch any timing through short, using a smoke to reinforce himself. Chronicle darted right as Alpha swung to give Alpha the best odds possible in the fight, and it clearly worked wonders. At no point during this reclear was there any gap in Fnatic's A play that Vitality could have exploited. This kind of dynamic play and abuse of well-timed skirmishes using cross-map information is exactly how a comp like this should operate. Chronicle's excellent util was especially useful in making this round go so smoothly. Later on in the half, Fnatic find themselves with a firm lead. Both sides have a full rifle buy this round. At this scoreline, if Fnatic take this round, they're looking at a very strong first half, as Vitality's economy will be reset once more. Befitting such a pivotal round, there's a wealth of ults online here. Fnatic have all online but heroes, and for Vitality, Kicks, Trex, and Senders are online, with runners only 1 point out. Looking at our map, we can see that Fnatic's plan this round is a little different from normal. Boast is at A now as Chronicle's support, and both duelists are centralized. Hero's still just doing his thing at C though. The plan this time is to hard pressure A lobby, similarly to normal rounds, but this time to enable Alpha and Durka to take fights in mid, especially since Alpha's ult is online to get a pick. This is in play in this pivotal round to capitalize on conditioning. Fnatic know that Vitality have had a lot of struggles around the extremities in previous rounds, and in an important round like this one, they're likely to look elsewhere to mix up the pacing. Since Boaster's ult is online, allowing him to instantly rotate to C if absolutely necessary, this is the perfect round to try out this plan. Vitality's plan is to throw some util in A to keep Fnatic occupied and push their main unit through mid to widen out the map and force Fnatic to surrender rotation prio. At round start, Fnatic spend Omen Blind, Iso Vuln, and a smoke on A lobby. Chronicle's Dark comes in a little later to confirm their victory here. This is a very heavy spend to dissuade Vitality from playing here and funnel them towards mid. Vitality throw a weak smoke at A long and use a shock towards short. From there, they send Safe, Kicks, and Sender through mid with their supporting players holding out the extremity sides. Now, the round gets a little chaotic. Durka hears footsteps and Alpha's called onto stage. He ults and catches Sender. Durka gets some shots into Safe but loses the kill. Alpha's in danger now. Even worse, Durka overstays and goes down to Kicks. Chronicle is forced to ult to cover Alpha and fortunately takes down Safe right as Alpha sends Sender to the next round. In the pause, Hero swings out Garage and gets a 1-for-1. Vitality's first exec phase is down, but Alpha is determined not to give them another stab at it, so swings out and catches Runner in mid. Trex is left in an unfortunate 1v3, but luckily not for too long.
Fnatic are playing a very confident game of Valorant, rightly so.
While info management wasn't at the forefront of what made this round, the way Fnatic put their foot on the gas at A and quickly cleared lobby to enable centralized skirmishing was incredibly intelligent. Using their ability to deny info from A lobby at this stage was a big part of things though. Boaster's second smoke in this one was also useful for resetting Vitality after Safe fell on site, which put the initiative in the round back in Fnatic's hands once Alpha was done in his ult. I also just really like rounds that demonstrate conditioning and the round by round flow of a match, so that's pretty cool too. By the end of this half, Fnatic were up 9-3. We've looked a lot at the defense side in this match, so we'll look at one highlight round for the offense before moving on to our next match, where we'll look at the attack side a little more closely. A big round in terms of info management on Fnatic's attack side was round 18. Coming into this one, Fnatic have only just managed to end a 4-round win streak for Vitality. That leaves us in a full buy round for both sides. The ult economy is near even here as well. Fnatic have Omen ult and are 1 point away from Cypher and Sova, while Vitality have Omen and Cypher ults but are close to Breach. Vitality are playing a pretty standard default this round. Kix is hanging around at A link in case his stun is needed for a fight in lobby, and Trex and Safe are doubled up at A long. Runner and Sender are picking up the slack at C with a kill trip set up to enable floods with Kix's rotation if needed. Fnatic on the other side of things are looking for a C split. They have Boaster and Chronicle at C long to try and take the line, and an orb for Chronicle early, while Alpha and Durka play slowly to contact Garage as the middle of the map opens up from the initial pressure. Hero's position is very important as well. He's playing A lobby, which is very normal for a Cypher on offense, but he uses this Cypher cage to deny info, which obscures both the line from long and from short. The plan for him is to use that cage early and break Trex's dart to force the A players to full clear lobby, then oscillate to window and cam mid to maintain rotation prio and enable Alpha and Durka's walk for Garage. On round start, Vitality dart and smoke A lobby, and Hero uses his cage as stated. This forces Safe to walk up and full clear, slowing rotations from A. Chronicle drones C long to secure the line, and Alpha and Durka just hold the Garage peak to start with. Boaster, however, decides to get creative. He smokes CT and ults in place, threatening the TP into Vitality's spawn and completely throwing off their rotations. This completely opens up the middle of the map as the extremity players remain on their sites to not sacrifice them, and Kix and Sender scramble to clear spawn. Hero turns for mid and cams, which enables Alpha and Durka to walk Garage while Boaster and Chronicle scale up long. Fnatic starts setting up an exec with a smoke CT and Chronicle's dart, which forces Vitality to cage mid-site and use a log smoke to alleviate the pressure of Alpha and Durka's Garage exit. Now, Fnatic choose to pause. This pause is vicious. Notice where they're standing. The Fnatic players are all playing positions which safely secure them front sight, and Vitality can't peek into them to reclaim their lines because Fnatic have a full flattened out ownership of that space. A swing is far too dangerous. This immense pressure forces all the Vitality players to move towards C. Unfortunately, Alpha misuses that pressure and needlessly contacts Garage window. That wasn't particularly great. Anyway, now Hero uses this time where Vitality are completely off balance to contact through mid. Chronicle ults to keep the pressure on while he does this, and Sender is even forced to refresh his smoke just to maintain his backside position. Chronicle kills Kix, and Hero arrives on B right in time to catch Trex.
Looks like they have 2 players still here. Hero's got in space though. He's got a player turned the wrong way.
He finds a pick, and now the map is completely lopsided. A Cypher ult and Fnatic all know it. They snap and rotate towards A. Unfortunately, Chronicle is stuck in long cubby, so is unable to escape and join the rotation. It's a 3v3 where Fnatic have a free rotation for their plant. Runner trades hat info, so all the cards are on the table now. The round is ending at A. Sender TP's long to try and get ahead of things, but Hero gets the better of him.
Oh! Checks on him, catches him! Removes all threat, he secured it for them!
Boaster plants, and Durka catches Runner trying to rush through the one-way at CT. But Safe answers and takes 2 back. It's a 1v1.
A 1v1! Safe safe against Boaster. Dash is popped. How does he want to play this? Boaster is waiting on that other side, just around the corner. Safe, what are you going to do with this one? Sharp as ever, but not now. Boaster's got them 11.
But we all know Boaster wins those. And just like that, ends the coolest, or at the very least my favorite, round of this match. Control of the flow of information was the absolute crux of Fnatic's plan and victory in this round. First, Hero's pressure at A was all about controlling information. The cage he used guaranteed pressure regardless of if Vitality wanted to scout through short or long. Playing to break Vitality's dart also forced them to respect the potential lobby threat. This small play alone was so impactful that by the time the rest of Vitality were leaning towards C, Safe was actually still hovering in A short from clearing lobby. This play also comboed really well with the Omenal. Because Trex and Safe were doubled up at long, the combined pressure of an Omenal and the lobby threat pinned them down, and you can see that in the way that Trex holds heaven during Safe's lobby clear. At the same time, Chronicle's drone at C was a really strong way to quickly secure the line in C long, especially when combined with Boaster's Omenal, which pulled rotations from the middle of the map to check spawn. This meant there was less reinforcement on an extremity line like C long to fight for the space. A little later, Hero's cam in mid was a really strong option to secure Alpha and Durka's garage scaling, since Fnatic were extremity focused on round start. The absolute peak of info control this round though was during the pause on the C exec. Like we said during the round, the way Fnatic played front sight and completely locked Vitality out from even looking at that space created incredible amounts of pressure, which forced rotations and completely opened up the middle of the map for Hero. Fnatic was so in control of the macro by this point in the round that by the time Hero was touching front B, Durka had already thrown a TP towards spawn and Boaster was tapping plant in preparation to leave. This round certainly wasn't perfect. Alpha's peek out of garage window was a complete misuse of all of the pressure that Fnatic created, and Chronicle could definitely have gotten out of cubby for long a little earlier in preparation to rotate. All of this culminated in a really close round. Even so, the way Fnatic played the macro of this round generally and controlled the flow of information so acutely that they were 2 or 3 steps ahead of Vitality the entire time makes it such a fantastic example of our theme of information management from this match. By match's end, Fnatic took Haven 13-8, and by the end of the series, Fnatic were once again EMEA's champions. This match was a really solid foundational look at the basis of this Haven comp. For a closer look at the attack side and at Fnatic's control of the brawly elements of this comp, we'll follow them all the way to Korea. Fast forward to August, and the world's 16 strongest teams, including Fnatic of course, have gathered for the biggest tournament of the year, Champions Seoul. This is the tournament to pull out all the stops, and aces in the hole like Fnatic's imaginative Haven comp were to be expected. Fnatic made quick work of Bilibili Gaming as their first match, but in a disappointing loss to DRX, Fnatic's tournament life was very soon on the line against Crew. And it was in this match that Haven first entered the draft. Crew start out strong with a close win on Sunset, 13-11. Now for Fnatic's map pick of Haven. With their tournament life on the line, Fnatic have to make the most of this map to regain their momentum in the series. On the other side of things, Crew's comp is standard, but Kesnit's Neon is always a threat. Now, we'll see how Fnatic can handle the explosive style of Crew. After a close 6-6 defensive side, the second half, and Fnatic's offense is where this match really kicks into high gear. On the attack side, it's important to manage resources carefully with a brawly comp like this in order to retain the reach to close out rounds. Since we'll be looking at the attack side in this match, our theme for this one is all in the pacing of the rounds and resource management around Alpha and Durka. Our first round on the chopping block is round 16. In this round, both sides have full rifles, but Crew's economy is a little more healthy off the back of a strong win in the anti-bonus. Fnatic have Alpha's ult and are 1 out from Heroes, while Crew are working with little more than Melsa's Omen ult. The idea for Fnatic this round is to soften up multiple preemption lines around the map and throw off Crew's rotations, since a lot of their game plan in these rounds revolves around rotating Kesnit around and flooding on with Neon privilege. In a longer round like this, they want a lot of the heavy lifting towards the start of the round to be done by Boaster, Chronicle, and Hero, but to save their duelist executil and Boaster's blind for the ramp up in speed later in the round. Since Alpha has Iso ult, Fnatic can use that on any side with the flimsiest preemption lines to prevent a safe escape from a crew player and wrench open a site for an easy exec. Crew's idea is to play Kesnet centralized from round start so he can rotate around at will for floods. Since Fnatic like their A lobby pressure, Heat is playing harder towards that side than normal for a potential skirmish with MTA's dart. They don't intend on holding players over here though, since Shy has a cam for the short preemption line which gives Heat the freedom to rotate mid-round even if MTA is forced off long. The C side of the map is covered with some trips which enable Crew to play backside and facilitate a flood from Kesnet in the event of a fast hit. The round opens with a smoke, dart and stun A lobby from Crew and a smoke and some spam garage from Fnatic. Hero camps mid to carry a walk down during that process. Since Crew went out at lobby, Heat rotates off and leaves a short preemption line to Shy's camp, while Melsa is baited into smoking B because of Fnatic's firm ownership of mid and Crew's lack of players to confirm Fnatic's movements. This despite Fnatic actually failing to break Shy's trip in garage. With Crew's rotations pinched into the center of the map, Fnatic now turn to the extremities to see what's opened up. Chronicle drones A long with Hero's cage to reclear and finds a lone MTA. Melsa ults long to confirm how much Fnatic is sending that way, but is shot before he can see anything. Fnatic set up 4 players in long and Buster in short, and from this wide spacing, prepare to exec. Alpha ults and catches MTA. This leaves MTA completely uncovered coming out of it, and Crew with absolutely no one on site to hold down space. Alpha loses, but Durka uses the time to TP backside and claim wide site for Fnatic. Boaster and Hero pinch the frontside smoke while Durka slaughters the flooding Kesnet and Heat, and just like that, A has fallen. With no path into the site, Melsa and Shy choose to save for the next round. There are a lot of interesting minutiae to Fnatic's treatment of resource management in this round. The most obvious point is that Durka and Alpha saved their util for the end of the round and their exec. To make that happen, the other 3 players pick up most of the slack early in the round, using strategic smokes and clearance like their early combo in Garage to prepare the map for an exec. In slower rounds like these, early darts, smokes and cams will come back by exec time, so they're all an expendable resource which allows Fnatic to hold onto their precious duelist util until exec. Boaster's smokes are worth discussing in their own right. In particular, notice how he smokes during Fnatic's A exec. He only smokes CT. This is another important element of util management. Fnatic tend, when execing, to only smoke 1 choke point and hold Boaster's second smoke. This serves 2 purposes. First, it means Fnatic are able to exec before Boaster's first smoke has fully refreshed, since they've repped it out before. This means they have more control of pacing even if Boaster has spent a smoke early for pressure. Second, and more importantly, it makes their post plants near impenetrable. Once the exec is done, Fnatic will have their second smoke to refresh the first, rather than having none left, so they can enhance their hold on the smoked side long into the bomb's time ticking. And the only price they have to pay for that is having someone hold the other choke, or having a means of fighting into it if the defense stop poking around there. Lucky for Fnatic, they hold their Omen blinds, Yoru blinds, and Iso vulns for that exact purpose. Fnatic's management of their util as a resource is clearly fierce. In our next round, we'll see how their management of players themselves as a resource is equally strong. This round, both sides have rifles, but Crew's economy is teetering on a reset while Fnatic's is only getting stronger. Neither side has any ults, and there are only 2 even close to being online at round start. This is a dry round. Crew are working with the same basic idea from round start, only now Kesnet is at A reinforcing short for better skirmishing, and Shy's cam is at B to make centralized flooding that little bit easier. Fnatic's plan is to gently pressure the A side to hold rotations there while they use the opening to contact around mid and prod for an exec option. This is off the back of their blitz into A last round, so their confident Crew will be a little more cautious leaving MTA alone this time. To start up, Crew smoke, dart and stun at A, and Fnatic cage and cam A lobby and smoke bricks. Already, Fnatic are contacting around mid. Since Hero's cam is occupied, Alpha swings mid window to secure scaling around Garage while Durka walks up. Once he's set up, Durka is supported into Garage with both server darts and a smoke. The trip breaking causes 3 Crew players to bunch up at Garage for a quick reclear. During that time, Fnatic leave Durka to hold double doors as they move to reclear A lobby and establish some extremity pressure.
What's the next step now?
The same reclear as last round forces MTA off long and Kesnet away from short. Crew have been in this situation before, and this time they rotate, ready for an A hit. Unfortunately for them, Fnatic now regroup in mid for a B exec. A smoke C link and the first round of util into B marks the exec. Boaster taps plant but is forced off by Heat's aftershock. Now, Fnatic scale around the C side of B, where their smoke keeps them safe, while Crew prepare to flood on at the next tap. But their efforts are stifled once more. Boaster's blind rips through A link and a double swing tears Crew's setup apart. Chronicle finds Melser at garage and dispatches him as well, and the retake through A link is short-lived.
Melser, and now it's on Heat and MTA to try and take those strides back in. A 2v3 is not impossible, but the timing on Boaster is looking absolutely on the money. Oh my god, he just missed his chance, but Dirk is there for him.
From this round, we can build upon what we learned from the previous. It's obvious enough now how Fnatic managed to hold their duelist util for that hit and to stifle the flood attempt, but the form on their scaling and trading is another element of their resource management we can pick apart. In their first exec phase, Fnatic didn't scale very far into B or spend too much util, instead baiting the potential flood with a plant tap and scaling after the first wave of disruption from Crew. The way they scale here is very purposeful. They scale around the C side of T-box, where the smoke disincentivizes Crew players from swinging to develop their angles holding A-link where Crew congregated. This empowered their swings when Boaster blinded and meant they could hold their second smoke for the post-plant as planned. The late post-plant also made really good use of Fnatic's players. They positioned 2 players deep mid as a last resort round closer and kept only 1 player holding C-link, since that side needed less resources because it was re-smoked. This allowed Fnatic to draw out players from A-link and play for swing timing as they used their second smoke to limit the lines of ingress Crew had access to. While we're here, we can also talk about the management of Hero's util. Hero's first cage this round was standard enough, but the second cage was held specifically for the A-long reclear. It made it impossible for MTA to maintain his line in long by empowering Chronicle's drone. The added pressure this created was the difference between Crew just relaxing their angles and snapping to rotate to that side like they did, and it was an instrumental part of their victory in this round by puppeteering rotations. Finally, let's look at round 19. Crew have just called their final timeout of the map as things are starting to get dire. If Fnatic take this round, the map is as good as over. Both sides are working with full purchases, Vandals across the board. Well, aside from the op on Boaster. Both sides are also armed to the teeth with ultis. Durka and Hero are coming into the round with their ults up, and all other members are 1 point out. For Crew, MTA, Heat, and Shy all have theirs, and Kesnet is only 1 point out from a potentially round-altering Neon ult. Crew are tired of Fnatic's pacing switches, so have decided to try and get ahead of things with a new formation. They have Kesnet, Heat, and Melser all stacked at A for the early round. The plan is to control A lobby and prioritize Heat's rotations for floods with his ult. Fnatic are aiming for early pressure around C and an easy ult orb for Alpha to empower them looking for picks. Boaster having an op comes in handy here since it's the best weapon for completely shutting down C long during and after the orb take and during potential noise cuts. Hero, as usual, is hovering around A lobby to hold rotators with some early util and to cam mid to maintain rotation options into the mid round. The round starts as expected. Boaster, Alpha, and Durka swing for C long to get Alpha the orb and Boaster set up on his line. Like we said, Heat is quick to centralize at B so he can react quickly to Fnatic's movements and threaten a flood with the breach ult. Getting no contestation on the C long line, Fnatic rotate Chronicle for long and go for a fast flat exec with Durka's ult. Importantly, at this point, Kesnet starts rotating for C, and Melser chooses to re-smoke A lobby and break Hero's trip, since C shouldn't need any smokes if Heat is ulting. This establishes a line of pressure in Fnatic's spawn, which disincentivizes late rotation through it. Moving on though, Durka gets a pretty easy clear of sight since Crew are granting for the flood. Fnatic now have full occupation of C and have held almost all their exec util. Boaster also doesn't even smoke Garage, instead holding the exit line with his op and leaving Durka to man the CT smoke. Durka catches Shy getting over eager in the smoke and Chronicle taps plant. Right on cue, Heat and MTA both use their ults, but Durka TPs out and the rest of Fnatic run off site. Having baited 2 huge ults out of Crew, Fnatic now choose to pause. They still have all their exec util barring one smoke, and securely own the C long line. Hero has time to contact mid now since crew have clearly snapped towards C, and can see the coast is clear. The only threat is Melsa since he broke Hero's trip and could now have access to their spawn. Fnatic choose to use the full extent of their own space in the pause to lock crew out. They leave Boaster on the long line on a slight off angle to prevent any reclear while the others clear spawn. After a little time for the map to settle, we end up here with a C split setup and Hero carrying mid window. Chronicle drones garage and Durka scales in, and now Fnatic let Alpha and Durka explode. Alpha ramps into the round with a double tap reset and an ult on MTA, and Boaster diligently catches Heat's attempt to swing through front sight. Once Alpha's wrapped up in the gulag, the round's as good as over, and a flawless at that. This was a big round and a really effective use of all the resources Fnatic have to manage. The general idea of the round was really solid. Boaster wanted to bait out crew's ults, flooding onto C since C is a common side to flood and Fnatic are really strong at generating pressure on that side to force mistakes. The way Hero and Chronicle set up the map by pressuring A lobby and garage forced crew to give sight against Durka's initial ult, and Fnatic managed to offset all other exec util, darts, flashes, double tap, even a smoke, just using a Yoru ult and some initial macro pressure. Fnatic's initial scaling onto C was also gorgeous. To hold Boaster's second smoke, Durka first scaled flat towards garage in his ult before moving to back sight. This meant Boaster was able to get set up on his line into garage with his op and actually generate more pressure by denying swings there while keeping his smoke. Since Durka had backside cleared too, it was easy to delegate the CT smoke to him to play for a quick pick and TP out safely. All of this initial setup just served to soften up the map and put complete control of pacing in Fnatic's hands for the second exec. We can see that control in how Melsa plays. During the pause, Melsa couldn't move from A lobby because as much as he had an eye on Fnatic's rotations from there, Fnatic were in complete control of that pause. One false step and Melsa could have surrendered the entire A side of the map by dying. Once they had set up the second exec, Alpha and Durka were free to take their swings into the weakened and util taxed crew. This is the nature of resource management for this comp, using regenerating util to set up the map for the duelist to completely take over at round end. This kind of explosive shift in pacing and use of momentum running forwards is the kind of thing a more standard Haven comp simply cannot achieve. We can also note that Fnatic held all of this util for the post plan if they needed it. Crew were completely outmatched in this round and map. 3 rounds later and Fnatic had claimed it. 1 map later and they were on their way to playoffs. Now onto their final Haven match of the whole season. This is where champs get serious, a double elim bracket to determine the strongest team in the world. In their first match, Fnatic faced Team Heretics, a year-long regional rival. Despite their best efforts, they went down 2-0, putting Fnatic in the lower bracket. No more second chances now, it's do or die from here on out. Fnatic's first opponent in the lower bracket is G2. A decorated team with some solid international placements in their own right, G2 are a definite threat to Fnatic's tournament run. Or at least they were meant to be. Funnily enough, our final Haven match to analyze was an absolute stomp. Since it's the end of a long video already, for this match we're just going to look at some highlight rounds which carry on some of the themes we explored in the last 2 matches. Looking briefly at G2's composition, we can see it's a little different from the other ones Fnatic have faced up to this point. G2 are running a double controller comp and have a Yoru as their sole duelist. Starting as the defense, Fnatic's focus in this match is a lot on early round contact in mid to counter leverage against G2's solid A lobby control. This is because G2 used this Viper wall. The wall cuts off lines from A long and A short, even allowing deep contact into bottom sewer before the attack has to exit. To offload the threat of this Viper wall, Fnatic's focus is contacting mid in the early round, especially since G2 notoriously play a very slow, late round playstyle. This is also a solid counter to Jonah's default orb spot in front B, which G2 typically use to enable their movement in mid in the late round. We can see a solid example of this late in the half in round 9. This is a rifle round for both sides, with very few ults available from round start. The plan for Fnatic this round is to play early contact deep at A and mid to remove G2's confidence in their early round info control, then peel away and play for sites with their site level util advantage. They have Boaster holding Durka's window with Durka's TP towards A at round start so he can just focus on contacting fast. Alpha and Chronicle are doubled up at A long, and Hero sitting front garage for counter swings with the intention of peeling away for backside C and a retake after Durka resets. For G2, the idea is to delegate long A to a smoke at bricks and TP Valen down short with Trent's dart to take control of the preliminary space on that side, while Leaf and Jonah play a typical Killjoy default around mid to keep options open and keep Fnatic guessing. The round starts with Alpha and Chronicle's signature combo at lobby and Alpha immediately contacting through Valen's smoke. He catches Icy trying to leverage long. Meanwhile in mid, Leaf's turret has a blind spot on Durka which nets him a pick there, and Hero counterswings to take down Jonah. All of a sudden, things are looking very good for Fnatic. Valen is faster moving through short than anticipated since he knows Chronicle and Alpha were doubled up long to start with, so manages to catch out Alpha and at least claim A short solidly for G2. Another pause in the round happens here. Fnatic actually decide to regroup towards mid with 3 players and have Chronicle completely concede A and just hold for aggro into CT. Hero throws a Cypher hat and all the cards are on the table. G2 rush onto site before the hat tags and Fnatic decide to fast flank with their timing. With G2 completely cornered on site and all their options covered, it doesn't take long for Fnatic to win out the round.
Hero just absolutely decimates Valen. And deleted from the server.
And Trent's left in a 1v4. That first shock will go out. The spam coming through will clean up 2. But there's still so much work to be done. Note Boaster did not get it to half. Now finally done so. The classic just cannot connect.
This round might seem a little strange to bother talking about in much depth, since Fnatic more or less won it within 10 seconds. I think the main thing this round exemplifies though is Fnatic's control not only of information in the round, but also of pacing. They can switch so seamlessly between explosive trade fights and tempered patience that even when G2 have rotation options open, they don't feel safe taking them because of Fnatic's established pressure. The way Fnatic managed to turn a hard lean towards A into a fast flank with just a solidly timed Cypher ult is also worth noting from this round. In this next round, we get some more early round aggression and info control, similarly to what we saw against Vitality. Here, we have a full buy round for both sides, but with Fnatic holding a much healthier economy as well as a solid ult advantage. Alpha and Boaster have their ults, while Hero and Chronicle are only 1 out. G2 are 1 point out from Jonah and Trent's ultis, but have none available from round start. Fnatic's formation going into this round is devious. They're very heavily stacked towards the A side. Their plan this round is to dominate A lobby using Alpha's ult for a pick and some swings at A short to confirm the victory, then set up a flank from lobby since Leaf always defaults mid and won't be guarding that space. Since Boaster has ult, he can always rotate to C instantly if needed, as well as Durka whose TP is over there from round start. This play will also get Chronicle his ult from long, which is good for plant denial and setting up traps. Hero has also gotten particularly creative this round. His cam is in its usual spot, but his trips are only for the garage exits. This both allows him to trap the garage exits and, by conceding garage, means his trips will get their value later into the round, which gives Fnatic more time to rotate after their skirmish at A. G2's idea this round is to generate some pressure around A with early util and by breaking Chronicle's dart, then to contact around while Fnatic clear lobby. Round start is predictable enough. Boaster smokes, Chronicle darts, and Alpha ults off the dart break, catching Trent. Trent does not survive. Durka scales deep lobby to hold that space, and Boaster and Chronicle join him once Chronicle has farmed his ult. Alpha, meanwhile, flattens out towards C to meet with Hero. As G2 clear around mid and garage, Boaster smokes front B, which allows Alpha the time to join Hero for a trap play at garage.
He has a paranoia that he can hit from there. It's all off the cue from Alpha, but he gives the space up.
Once Hero's cam tags on Leaf, he spams for some damage and Chronicle ults to finish the job. During that ult, Durka swings out and finds Icy, but is traded out by Valen. Fnatic aren't done there though. Alpha and Hero double swing into garage to clean up there, which leaves Valen all on his lonesome.
It's these miserable 1vx situations.
Luckily, he's not alone too long.
What a great round. And Alpha just spams him through the smoke. That's how the game's been.
This round is incredibly intricate. What made it so successful for Fnatic was in how seamlessly they were able to move through their own space. Alpha's movement from A-Link complemented Hero's info control around C to allow them a clean trap in Garage, and the confirmation of players deep in Garage was exactly what Durka needed to time his walk on the flank. G2 were constantly hounded from all sides in this round after being purposefully funneled into mid from round start. Now, we've reached our final round of the video. This is round 15, the penultimate round of the map. Fnatic are on the attack side now and with a massive lead to their names. This is a full rifle round with almost no ults active or even close, barring alphas. The plan into this one from G2 is to abuse extremity pressure to funnel Fnatic into mid and stage a clean retake against them. To do this, they have 3 players stacked at A to contact and control lobby, and the remaining Jonah and Leaf on C looking to contact down that side as well. The middle of the map is covered with Killjoy util to inform G2 of Fnatic's timing so they can look to react and turn. Fnatic's plan is to scout out the extremity sides with Chronicle's early dart and a jump spot at C long, then contact into mid and play for what timing they can find from there. This time, Chronicle will break Trent's dart at lobby and use his own dart in short to free up Hero to cam mid early, since Fnatic need that space to contact around. Boaster will smoke bricks in place of Hero's cage for info denial. This round will be a battle of the mid-rounding, since Fnatic are looking to take mid and concede the extremities, while G2 are taking the extremities and conceding mid. The round starts with Valen dodging a dart in A short and Chronicle breaking Trent's at lobby. Iso and Trent contact through Boaster's smoke. We've seen this kind of situation before. G2 are forced to contact toward lobby with all their players now to full clear and confirm their leverage. Meanwhile, Durka walks for Garage under cover of Hero's cam, and Boaster and Jonah exchange a friendly hello at C long. Fnatic now know G2 are playing hard for the extremities, and G2 know Fnatic are playing a slow, spread default. Fnatic decide to contact for Garage and threaten Leaf's util to break down G2's extremity control, while Boaster and Chronicle hold for deep contact on the extremities. Durka breaks Leaf's alarm bot and falls to some very unfortunate spam, but Alpha manages to find his way into Garage window.
Start hitting some shots.
That's a good start.
There you go. But again, as soon as you kill one, you should expect the other.
Lack of information forces Leaf to turn and cover the spawn exit from Garage, while Jonah tucks deep in C long. This map state is huge for Fnatic. As much as they're down a player, they've managed to force G2 to contact deep on both extremity sides. This means G2 have now lost their ability to react to a B move, since Alpha is zoning Leaf away from C-Link and A-Link is wide open. Fnatic quickly converge to capitalize. As they move for site, Boaster only smokes A-Link, looking to leverage C-Link using Alpha's deep window position. Meanwhile, G2 look to flank from both extremity sides. Boaster blinds into C-Link and falls to Leaf, but Alpha trades out, and now Fnatic hold firm ownership of G2's spawn. The map has completely flipped. Chronicle holds out against the flanks as long as he can and finds 2 kills before he finally falls to Valen. By now though, the round's as good as over. Fnatic have perfect leverage in G2's spawn, and G2 have spent so long dealing with Chronicle they have practically no chance of even reaching the site in time. Alpha ults to guarantee the round, and G2 are forced to retreat and save.
We don't have time. And yeah, it's because of that positioning from Chronicle.
This round was a solid culmination of a lot of what we've covered in this video. Fnatic's use of early info control around a lobby was instrumental in goading G2 to overcommit to that space and surrender their reactivity around mid. Their use of solid contact play in the space they held leverage over, along with beautiful management of both their space, positioning, and util, also allowed them to cleanly win this round despite losing Durka so early on. With that, we've now completed our look into Fnatic's Haven. The degree of strategic depth and thought that went into Fnatic's Haven play last VCT season was truly astounding, and an absolute treat to analyze and celebrate with this video. Thank you for joining me on this analytical journey not only through Fnatic's devastating run on this map, but also through the end of their impressive year in VCT 2024. I look forward to more amazing Valorant this year and hope you have a lovely rest of your day.